Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is June 12th, 2024. It is a beautiful Wednesday morning. June. I'm off to our first call. Tex had training this morning, so go a little later on Wednesdays, which is nice. Got journal entries uploaded for Rosie to process. And I'm just kind of moseying along. It's been pretty fun. I put together this article on X. I think I called it Service Experts Business Review or something like that, which has my ideas on how I think we should adjust the sales process to make it easier to sell and really better serve our clients. So I shared that with one of my coworkers yesterday, and he really liked it, which I think is cool. It'll be fun to see how it goes, where it goes from here. It's yeah. I feel like everything's coming together. I feel like, because if you think about collapsing time, what I'm always doing is stacking everything I do today to benefit my tomorrow. And the more and more we do this, the more value we add to today, because everything's stacked in that certain way. It's really cool. Eventually, I think people will be able to see what we're building, see what we're designing. In my mind, change starts at the kitchen table. So this is my vision for America's Holding Company and what I'm trying to build right now. Change starts at the kitchen table. It starts with families discussing politics, discussing religion, discussing belief systems, discussing opinions. It starts with families. And so that's where I think the change is needed the most, is in each and every one of our homes. We need a new education system. We need a new way to take care of each other through time that's not like, oh, you're done when you're 12. It needs to be like, oh, yeah, you're part of our team for your whole life because we love you and we want to take care of you and we want you to make humans so we can take care of them with you. Like, that's how civilizations work, I think. I mean, I am not a scientist. This is just my opinions. But if people stop making babies, we all die. Also an opinion. Anywho, so change starts at the kitchen table. And so and when you're selling tax strategy, you're selling air. Literally. There's no reason anyone has to buy from me. Ever. Ever. Unless they want to be a part of what I'm building. That is the only reason someone would buy from Justin Stevens, period. Which is, I think it's cool to set it up that way, because it gives people options. And so, if the only reason to buy from you is to be a part of your system, what can you add that no one else can? And that's where ownership of my blog comes into play. When people buy through my system, not only are they buying what they get today from Service Experts and the system we've designed, but they're also buying ownership of the machine that is doing all the work. So they pay a higher price, they're paying more profit into our company, but they're also getting ownership of that company, and everyone's paying a higher price. There are no discounts. There's not. There's six prices. There's $27 a month, there's $150 a month, $300 a month, $750 a month, $1,500 a month, or $2,000 a month. The last five, the only difference is how much ownership the client gets of our system. That's the only difference. Everything else is the same. The goal is to level the playing field over the decades. And to do that, I think we have to think like we've never thought before. And that's what I'm trying to do with everything I do. And so, Service Experts is a perfect partner because they're already doing Maintenance Plus at $15 a month, and they're already selling Advantage. The difference is their Advantage is tied to leasing the equipment, so you can only sell it if they need new equipment, instead of being able to sell it to anyone to take care of their existing equipment. So that's one of the big changes that I'm trying to drive in Service Experts, is get them to let us sell it outside of a lease as a service package that does essentially the same thing, or a very similar thing. So Service Experts is already a publicly traded company. It's already got a brand nationally, and has production centers across the U.S. They're already growing through acquisition, and they already sell air. They already have 500 salespeople as part of their 4,000 employee headcount. Did I say 5,000? I meant 500. Regardless. Anyways, they have 500 salespeople already. So I look at Service Experts as the sales force that, because again, I'm a Lego builder. I'm not trying to create something new. I'm trying to use what's already been created in a new way. So they've already designed and built out Service Experts exactly how it is. Great. I'm just going to leverage that. So I'm going to work on driving HVAC companies to duplicate their model and work on selling into Service Experts. As the businesses transition, as they grow and as time passes, things always consolidate. So it's just giving people a better option and giving them direction so they could plan on a 5-year transition or a 10-year transition if they want. They start setting their business up according to how we would want to buy them, and they're building it, and when they're ready, they just say, hey, here's what we've built. We would like to sell it to you and be part of your system. How do we work it out, right? So we're building a pipeline of companies to acquire, and we've got a sales force. It's already a publicly traded company, so you can go to the New York Stock Exchange and buy Brookfield Asset Management, which is the company that owns Service Experts. So we're already a publicly traded company. Yesterday our stock price was $38.50, something like that. So that becomes our sales force. That becomes the publicly traded portion of what we're trying to do. And then I just started driving Uber. And Uber is great for making connections. Like, the way I look at Uber is I'm literally, someone needs to go somewhere and they say, hey, I'll pay you. I pick them up. I get the entire drive to sell them on the idea of following me on social media. before dropping them off. So I get a little window, get their attention, get them to follow me, build the relationship through social media, driving them back to service experts for HVAC services. And there are Uber drivers all across the US. So if we can teach companies how to set themselves up to sell into service experts, and teach Uber drivers how to help promote companies trying to become part of service experts, we can start acting as a team based on a strategy of how do we want to do tax strategy. Excuse me. And then where Service Wars comes into it all is I need to create a way that's easy for anyone on the earth to market, to create content that is not them talking, it's not them on camera, in front, it's just them doing something. That's why I use my glasses. Now, I do a lot of talking because I'm trying to train and educate everyone on my methodology, theories, what I'm trying to accomplish. But any service tech in any company, any Uber driver, anyone who helps other people can join Service Wars. And all that is throw a water gun in your car, and eventually we'll be having sporadic water fights between different service companies and service individuals, and we'll capture parts of it, use it as content online, and then whenever people see water fights, whenever people see people having fun online, they'll know that organization's part of the team, part of what we're trying to accomplish. Whether there's any logo or anything else, it is all just the methodology. It is the education, it's the training, it's how we work together. And so that's why I do daily content, is because if I can keep people updated every day with our strategy, with where we're going, with what we're doing, that way, as people are out doing it, instead of trying to explain it, they can just say, listen, I'm just part of the team. Justin Stevens explains it online. Whatever your social platform is, I would go follow him. Essentially, it's like a tax strategy thing. I don't even get it. Go follow him. And then everyone can drive people to me to learn firsthand what the strategy is, follow with the strategy, get involved and work on implementing it in their lives as I'm driving it forward. So I look at myself as the tip of the spear, like literally the number one salesperson. And that's all I will ever be in this organization, is a salesperson. We need someone at the front who's willing to make the first puncture wound, right? So I'm the tip of the spear, and every subscriber, the way I look at it, every subscriber is just standing up behind me and saying, you know what? I'm going to help drive this spear forward. I'm going to invest $27 a month or $150, whatever the level is they decide to participate in. They're saying this is part of my strategy. This is part of what I want to do, which I think is incredibly powerful. And so that's how I feel like we can unify behind an idea and implement the idea as quickly as possible without changing the systems we already live in. Brookfield Asset Management already has a board, they're already publicly traded, they're already paying taxes, they're already managed, they're already doing acquisitions. I don't need to recreate the wheel. I need to use the wheel on my vehicle. And so that's what we're doing. And right now I work for service experts. That may not always be the case. Wherever I go, there I'll be. But the cool thing about what I've done with service experts, I've designed a strategy, a prospecting system that I think would work really well across the company, not just for me, that whether I can afford to work for them full-time or not moving forward, there's some disconnect between the business model and compensation model, which is why I'm looking for different options. But where I work is irrelevant. We all have to work. And that's the power of time. You own your time. Anyone can tell you anything to do. It's up to you if you do it. It's up to you if you go. Own your time. So, that's what we're working through, and I love it. I'm having a blast. But I also, and this is where a lot of people see Justin of today and think, oh, he's got no proof, none of that. Well, that's true. I don't have any tangible proof that my system works, except my blog that I've been building for 2 years. And if you don't think that's an asset, then you don't think your blog's an asset. You don't think your blog's worth anything at your company, which I would argue it is. I would argue the media your company creates is an asset in and of itself within your company. It's your choice how to use it and what to do with it. But it is an asset. And so, even though the blog is not successful yet, it will be. Because that's the true value of time. Things work when they're worked. And I've been working this 2 years, and at this point, people are if you don't subscribe, you're betting tomorrow Justin's going to wake up and think, you know what, I am an idiot. I don't believe in myself any longer. And I'm going to stop documenting my life. I'm going to stop thinking that tomorrow will be better than today, which today is awesome. Like, that's the bet you're making. Will Justin wake up tomorrow and quit? Or will he not? Will Justin wake up tomorrow and have more or less people believe in his vision? Will he be able to get more or less people bought into the system than there are today? Those are the bets people make every day. And there's no cart close. Like, the cart closes every day. That's how time works. Time just passes. And all of this is why I feel like this strategy has been so hard to explain and get up and rolling, is because it's so much more than any one thing. It is an entire thought process. It is an entire philosophy on how to live that puts the value on time instead of on money. That's all it is. Which, to me, that sounds real easy to understand. I don't think it is. Oh well. Anyways, that's what we're working through, and gosh, isn't it fun? So someday, people will have to realize I've been saying the same thing for 2 years, and in 20 years, I'll be saying the same thing for 22 years because the time's passed. That's how time works. So, alrighty tighty. Well, I hope y'all have a great day. We will talk to y'all soon. I mean, and my stuff is designed to be so raw.
Fair enough.
Like, it don't fucking matter.
Well, the first thing is I just want to make sure the power's actually off. Because the last thing I want is to start pulling this apart and get zapped.
Right.
But, nope, we're all good. Power's off and everything. And then we're going to pull this cap, the old one.
And so what are we doing here?
So we found the run capacitor on this unit testing week. It's rated at 45 and 5. The 45 side is the compressor side, which is the side we're having issues with. It's testing at 38 out of 45, so the compressor is going to be running a bit harder, starting up a bit rougher. So we're going to replace this capacitor, and then it has been replaced before, so we talked to her about adding a hard start kit because that'll help to alleviate some of the startup amp draw off the compressor, and it should help. One, the compressor lasts longer. It'll start to kind of help that start winding out a little bit. And then we're also replacing the cap, or adding a hard start, just to try and take care of the compressor, especially at 11 years old. It's just a little bit of preventative maintenance to hopefully keep them from needing to call us right in the middle of the summer.
Right.
Today's the
24.
And I usually like to write the dates on my caps, because it'll, one, save me time so I don't have to go digging through the notes to figure out when it was replaced.
That's a good idea.
The only thing with this one is it doesn't have a spot already for the hard start kit, so I'll have to grab a screw and add a connection for it. But once we get this all changed out, we'll put the amp clamp back on it. We'll test the amp draw just to compare our previous test to what it is now, and just to make sure that everything looks good. And even though it's a new cap out of the box, I like to test them because every now and again you get ones that come out and already are like on the low end of the specs.
Right.
Like this one's at 44.5. So
oh, wow.
44.5 is fine, but we'll notate that. That way, if a technician in the future comes out that's not me, they'll be able to see that it was already testing at that.
Just a little low.
Yep. But still well within manufacturer specs. These ones aren't bad until they drop below 42.
Gotcha. And this is kind of like that car battery that starts the whole thing up and keeps it running. Is that right?
Yep. So similar to a car battery, it's where your initial fire up power comes from. So that'll kick on the compressor, kick on the fan motor, and then they keep the difference between a run cap and a dual run cap is the dual run cap will actually be in use pretty much the entire time that the system's running, but the hard starts, they have a relay on the top of them that it ejects it from the run sequence after it fires up. So the compressor needs 45 microfarads to run. The hard start gives it an extra like 138 microfarads. So it gives it a big boost, but we don't want the compressor running with all of that extra voltage because that'll burn it out. So inside the top here, there's an actual little relay that once it fires, it'll break it. That way this drops out of the circuit. And I think we'll put that guy, as long as my wires reach. We're gonna put that guy right there.
I'll hold it for you.
Thank you. I try to make sure that they're not like in contact with anything else, because I had one. It was funny. It was this lady, and she called me over the winter, and she was like, I heard this really loud bang and saw a flash outside my window by my air conditioner. And I was like, well, that's not good. And it was the middle of winter. She didn't have a heat pump unit, so nothing should have been running outside. So I went out and opened up the casing, like how we have it here, and the whole hard start just exploded.
Oh my goodness.
They were doing line work down near her house, and one of the they did something with the power because it caused like a surge. Yeah. And it didn't have a 2-pole capacitor or 2-pole contactor. It had a single pole, and so on a single pole, there's one line that's pretty much always live. And it actually ended up traveling through that straight into the hard start and then popping it.
Oh my goodness.
And then 6, 12, 24, ITML. Alright, so everything's all wired right. Yellow goes to our common because it goes back to our contactor, so that's our common voltage. Blue goes back to our compressor on the inside, and then brown goes to our fan up top. There's not really a bad way or a right way to wire a hard start in, but this one with the prong on it, you put on your common side.
Gotcha.
That's the right way to do it. So
cool.
That should be all good, and then we're gonna take this and we're going to check our startup amps again. So set this. And then when we check our startup amps, you don't use the common run to the compressor, you got to use the start run, which is this other side. So you want to run in and fire it up for me?
Should I turn this on first?
Yep.
Alright, now I will run in and turn the AC down.
Thank you, my man. I'm gonna sit here and wait for him to get back. Wait for this to fire up.
And it was at like 65?
Yep.
And now it's 8? Holy cow.
Yep, so that'll make a bit of a difference for her.
That's crazy.
I don't know if you remember, but our amp draw was a bit higher on this leg when we had the old run capacitor on it.
Yep.
So that should be all good. I'm going to take a picture of the startup. That guy.
Find my tablet.
I was going to say, it's floating around here somewhere. So take a picture of that for her. I'll also take a picture here.
Got a nice dirty unit to clean up. This is a 2004 AC unit. It is R22 refrigerant, which this is something I've been learning about through this whole process, is refrigerant and how it all works and stuff like that. Well, they keep making changes to what refrigerants you can and cannot use. So originally, the refrigerant was R22, but about 20 years ago, the EPA decided that it was not legal anymore. It was illegal, some would say. And so the EPA outlawed it. So now you can no longer buy R22 refrigerant. Well, I mean, I'm sure someone somewhere sells it, but we don't. And we can't fill R22 systems. And so this is just one of those systems that we maintain just for the client, and whenever he's ready to replace it, we can help him with that. But our first and foremost, our job is to help them maintain their equipment as long as we can, because equipment's meant to last, not just be replaced at the first sign of trouble. This one got real dirty. And all this dirt on the system keeps the heat trapped in the coil rather than letting it letting it out. And so that's one of the big reasons you want to always keep your coils clean, is because a clean coil, at the very least, reduces your costs because your system's not working as hard as it was originally. So, if you haven't cleaned your coil yet this year, grab a hose. You don't need any special soap or anything like that. You just want a nice steady stream of water. You don't want to use a power washer or anything like that. That can bend those fins, and that is good for no one. So, anyways, if you have questions, reach out. We're here to help. Alright, we're going to change the filter. Oh, that's not too bad. Oh, there's a lot of cobwebs though. Ooh. Let's see. There's the filter. Oh my Lanta, there's so many cobwebs down here. Isn't that fun? I don't know that there's a filter in here. There we go. Check out that filter. That is dirty. That looks much better. Whee! Man. believe how dirty that is. So I started driving Uber, and it is a ton of fun. So we've known each other what, a month and a half now? Ish?
Feels like it's been longer, but yeah, it's probably about right.
Yeah, like a month and a half. Safe to say I'm talkative, and I can get along with people.
I like it.
Right? So
I don't like being alone with my thoughts. You fill the gaps.
see, I love what I say is my thoughts.
That's fair.
Which is why
a tow truck hauling a tow truck?
it sure did look like it. It's nuts. So
Anyway.
Started driving Uber just to make some extra money and stuff. I mean, I've thought about driving Uber in the past, but never took action.
Gotcha.
So, what I've learned is it is the fastest sales call you can get on and get paid for the sales call. Right?
Makes sense.
So, someone gets on their phone, they call me, and say they're gonna pay me to drive them somewhere. I show up where they are, my sales call gets in my car, I talk with them and sell them on the idea of Justin and getting them to follow me on social media. Like, that's the whole sale, right?
Yeah.
If I can get them engaged in my podcast, then digital or virtual Justin can build a relationship with them outside of the car, and ideally when they're ready for HVAC or whatever I'm doing at the time.
Kind of like you're getting paid to advertise for yourself.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right? And so after my first day, I was like, wow, this is the fastest turnaround on a sales call you can ever get. Right? Because you're getting paid up front to talk to them.
Right.
You pick them up, you get a face-to-face conversation, and then you drop them off.
And I think I haven't used Uber in a while, but I think they tip after the ride, don't they?
Yep.
So like they already paid for it, and then they tip you after.
Afterwards. Yep.
So, yeah, you kind of even sell yourself more there too.
Exactly. And I've done really well on tips. Go figure.
Imagine that.
Who would have thought? And so everything I look at is how do you collapse time? So one of my thoughts right now, because I'm trying to figure out how do I fund my life.
Right.
As much as I love this job, I can't support my family just on this job. Right? I can be a part of the service experts team long term, and I'm totally cool with that. Like, one thought I have is talking to Robert and seeing if he'll let me keep the phone and the iPad. I could return the car, drive Uber full time, sending leads back to service experts, and my goal is just to close the Maintenance Plus program. And let...
That helps, because, I mean, even if we don't sell a system today, in 5 years we will.
Exactly.
10 years we will.
Exactly. And that's what I think, at least our center here in Boise, one of our biggest problems is we don't have new leads coming in. I mean, we get some, but it doesn't seem like we get a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, when it got, like, really hot, we got, like, a few new customers, but we haven't really been getting the new leads or anything like we were even just a couple of years ago.
Right. So my thought was I could drive Uber full time, which means I'm generating revenue through Uber.
Right.
Work on selling Maintenance Plus memberships while I'm doing that, which could generate a little bit of income there, and sending referrals back to you guys, because I want, this is all part of my strategy, right?
What you're saying then? They can give you, because if we do like a tech referral or something like that, or if we get like a bigger spiff or something, so like if you send referrals back and they turn into maintenance programs and stuff, I mean that's a spiff every time.
Yeah.
Like if you sign somebody up on the HVAC and Plumbing, I think you get like 30 or 35 bucks.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's not a ton, but if I got good at converting during a sales call, Uber ride, right?
Adds up all the time.
And then that doesn't bring into account marketing while driving Uber. So what I've been doing is recording between pickups. So I just put my glasses on and I talk about whatever I talk about. Well, so my thought is, have you seen Cash Cab?
Yeah. I love that shit.
Make my own Cash Cab.
That'd be pretty sick.
I'd be fucking good at that, right?
Hell yeah.
And so, whether it's...
When I was a kid, I always wanted to go with the Cash Cab.
Dude, I want, because that's something I think people would watch, and we could generate a ton of consistent attention online.
I mean, hell, if we have more consistent attention, especially like with the crew and the team and the way that we've like the organization's changed even in the last few months. Like this place is so much better than it has been in years.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like if we had the attention now to drive like new people to us.
Yeah.
Like especially like some of the homeowners that have had issues that are like been on the fence with us. Like I've heard more about like how much better things have been lately.
Right.
And it's like if we get capitalized off that, keep driving more and more people to us and showing, hey, we are one of the better HVAC companies you can have. Then in the long term, I mean, it's just gonna make everybody better.
Well, exactly. And it will drive. So the way I look at it, for us locally, we build a presence. We're driving attention from clients.
Quite the trailer for one piece of wood.
Right? That's hilarious. That is so funny. But we can drive attention for new clients. We drive attention to our existing clients and remind them we exist and they're part of our team. We drive attention to current competitors, which means now we're marketing to our future workforce about our systems and what we're doing and how we do it.
Right.
Because and this is the way I look at it, if I can teach someone my process before I ever hire them, when I do hire them, there's more ROI for me because they already know what I expect and what we do. I think non-competes and not telling people your systems and stuff like that is the biggest mistake when it comes to marketing.
Well, that's like the other thing that kills me is it's like if you like the whole technician salesman thing that service expert says. And there's, I mean, generally speaking, it won't make most people upset or angry to have a salesman show up if it's conveyed.
Right.
The point is they're not there to sell you on something.
Exactly.
They're there to be of assistance for the technician and the homeowner.
Totally.
Like, yes, your primary job is sales, but ultimately, that's not why you're there.
Yes.
And that's why, like, I never have issues with homeowners when I'm running with you, because it's like, you make it very apparent and very clear. Whereas, like, with some of the other people that I run with, it's like, they're shady about it.
Yeah.
They don't want to tell them, and they're like, oh, I just work with him, I'm just his partner, and then they're like, well, why does he need a partner?
Yeah.
And so then they start to question and be worried and get sketchy about things, and it hurts the relationship.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're just just completely open and transparent. I mean, like that one guy that we went out to, and we did the reju kit for.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, that's like a lot of money for nothing.
Yeah.
Like, explaining, okay, well, it's covering the cost of sending me out and covering us having the parts, the knowledge, all that other kind of stuff. Like, once everybody understands, I mean, nobody has issues. It's just a lack of understanding where people get mad.
Right. And that's where I think, so I posted an article on X, my service expert business review, where I lined out, this is how, if I was the CEO and in charge, this is how I would sell what we produce.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because it's not about changing what we produce. It's just the sales process. If you get the sales process dialed in, production can go through the roof.
You say everything else takes care of itself.
Right. And so, like, I look at myself as the tip of the spear. Like in any organization, prospecting, lead gen, that first impression is what I'm trying to drive.
Yeah.
And once you get that driven, then everyone else has an easier time, because everyone who got driven there knows where they came from, right?
I was gonna say, it's kind of like when you go out and then you have some, like when I go to a homeowner that's been with us or, you know, been around for a few years, even not being with us, but being with other companies and having different technicians and stuff, like, I go out and I just do my job, but I'm thorough and detailed about it to the point that people are like, okay, that was a good impression, and I would like that to be my lasting
impression. Yeah.
And then easiest way for them to get that is to be like, okay, well, I want you to come back.
Right.
Which I don't have a problem going back.
Right. So here's the problem with that is you become the bottleneck in your organization.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, and this is one thing, I think in 10 years, people will look back at everything I've done and it will make sense why I did it the way I did it. And everything I've done is designed to keep me from being the bottleneck.
I was going to say, because, like, kind of go back to what I was saying, if every technician were to do everything the same way, because we know that, like, I have a good process, TJ has a good process, Trace has a good process. Like, there's a reason we get asked for all the time. So
Yeah.
it's like if we could get every one of us to do that, then it's not just one person that everything filters through, it's everybody.
Right. It's the system. And that's where I think Service Experts has a good system lined out. They just don't train it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's just like...
They don't communicate. Because I believe we're in an economic war right now.
Okay.
For America. Like, so I believe life is a single player game.
Yep.
And it's a team sport. Right?
Makes sense.
You're on my team, Emily's on my team, but you guys will never play the same game I'm playing.
Right.
Like, it's impossible.
Can't be inside your head.
Can't be in my head. And that's my single player game is called America's Holding Company. And the player is Nephew Justin. And that's my alter ego who dresses up like Uncle Sam. And I say, Uncle Sam's a dumbass. He had ideas that worked in his time, but it's time for change. And that's why Nephew Justin's here. We're gonna make change happen. It's not gonna be pretty. It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna suck. But, like, and that's, like, I see the Federal Reserve and everybody trying to avoid this recession and everything. No matter what, we have to go through a recession. Like, no matter what happens, between now and 20 years, there's going to be a huge recession.
Well, I was gonna say, especially like with all this stuff like going on, governmentally speaking, like we talked about like treating it more like a stock, like buying stock in a company.
Yeah.
Like it's not super easy to like make the people that are running this place feel like, you know, if you don't have faith in a business, you pull yourself out, right?
Right.
And it's like you can't really do that with the government. But it's
Right.
like if there was a way to like actually translate that and be like, okay, I don't like this, I'm gonna pull myself out.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that
you start to see some changes, that's for sure.
totally. And that's like this whole system I've designed. The way I look at it is we have to pay tax, right?
Yep.
Like, I personally, I love paying tax. I just want to pay my fair share. So then the question becomes, what is your fair share, and how do we determine that?
Right.
And
How do we figure out what everybody's fair share?
over what time frame,
I was just saying, because you don't do it all at once.
right? Like, Donald Trump went through school. Joe Biden went through school. Donald Trump went through college and built a career. Joe Biden did. Like, everyone has these journeys,
Right.
and now they're competing for president. But there were literally millions of people that invested their time into these two people to get them where they are today. And so it's this idea that when you look at an hour, the value of your hour versus the value of my hour versus the value of his hour, those fluctuate greatly. When you look at the value of your life compared to the value of my life compared to the value of their life over 100 years, there's change, but there's very little change,
It's not as radical.
right? It's like we all need each other. And that I think is the difference in the way I look at things versus the way anyone currently looks at things, is because I'm looking at, okay, if I'm comparing my year with your year, that's a different comparison than What's up, guys?
What are you wearing?
I'm Nephew Justin. This is my character.
I'm taking my stick in now.
Bring it on in. Sorry, I had to introduce you. I was telling him about Nephew Justin earlier
Yeah, we had a whole
today.
conversation about this. Yeah.
It's
Like
my
Uncle
alt.
Sam,
Uncle
but
Sam.
nephew Justin.
Well, she picked it up faster than I did.
All right,
My specialty.
I got chips.
Thank you.
I've got like chicken salad that my wife made. It's awesome. So dig in, and we're making pizza. But yeah, right? And it's that easy. So this is, yeah, grab it, dude. It's in the door on the left side. There's no such thing as ruining a moment of time. No. It was Emily's.
Remember when you bitched at me today about grabbing a bottle of soap bubbles to check for a leak?
Yeah.
And you grabbed the one that was almost empty? 'Cause
Yeah.
You didn't want to use the new one?
Yeah, I do remember
Do you
that.
see what I got in my hands?
I sure do. I sure do.
We live in a world of hypocrites. And I am simply a pawn.
I would argue, but you make some really valid points.
Every now and again, believe it or not. So that's Kurt Russell, owner of an nature.
Right? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. All right, so this recording is what I call an episode of the National Tax Strategy Education Program. I am trying to educate you on my idea of how we as a nation should do tax strategy. I record it. I leverage my time, one-on-one conversation, you ask questions for everyone who watches it. Right?
Gotcha.
Now we do one recording, and for the next 100,000 years, people can watch it.
No pressure.
Yeah,
100,000
exactly.
years, people. No worries.
But the goal is to do so many of them that no one watches a single one a ton, but they watch pieces and parts of multiple until they're comfortable with this system and want to get involved.
Okay.
And then they buy into the system on their time because I will never sell them. It is their choice to follow me. Right?
It takes about every 8 times
Yep.
to see your ad before they recognize your name or whatever.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And then my goal is if I market this for the next 10 years, and then I spend the next 10 years trying to sell it, and then the next 10 years trying to get good at producing it, but I do all that slowly over the 30 years, I think I'll be successful.
Yeah.
If I'm willing to dedicate 30 years.
I mean, what's successful to you? What's that
Well, so
bar?
that's the most important question ever. I'm already there. I have an amazing wife and 3 beautiful kids that right now are 11, 9, and 7. I can never relive their life. I can always try to build my dream in the future once they're gone. But right now, the most important thing for me is to be present and to educate my children on how to live a fulfilled life. Whatever success looks like to them, that's all that matters. Like, who cares what success even looks like to me for them?
Because it'll look different.
I am not them, they are not me. My success will never look like Emily's success, or Scarlett's, or Tristan's, or Nora's. And I don't want it to.
I like the name Scarlett. Jot that down, Joel.
Isn't it an awesome name?
Your name choices are shit.
Anywho, so because that's how I believe, what I believe, time is the only currency in the world. Everything else depends on one human and one human deciding the value in that moment of time. What did you pay for it? What am I willing to sell it? House, stock, Bitcoin, shitcoin, US dollar. All of it is based on belief in that moment of time. And time just moves. Right?
Makes sense.
So every week I compile this information, and the goal is to update this document that I've been updating for about 2 years for the next 100 years. As long as I or someone in my family continues to update this document, I believe we will find success. And so what it is first we start with what is the business model. This is an affiliate marketing company. Okay. Right? That's all it is. So this is my blog. I drive people from all social media platforms to the blog. The goal is to get them to click on different links that generate revenue back to the company. So that's the business model. Then, every week, we are updating the blog. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, or the next day, or the next day, or any of that. So it's a week-by-week thing. And then, while we live life, we record it, documenting that journey, building the blog, right? So that's how we generate content every single day. Right now, the company has $300 monthly reoccurring revenue. We're building on a SaaS business model where subscribers become part of the ownership of the asset. So this is more statistics on the financials of the organization based on that $300, about $300 a month. MRR, we're at $3,552 annual recurring revenue. And this is revenue that people have said, I see the idea, I support the idea, and I will put in money every single month to this pot because I believe this could work. Right? So this is year to date compared to last year to date. So this is my holding company. So it was originally I was using an LLC. I started America's Holding Company as a C corporation. I transferred all my revenue into that C corporation while I tried to find a W-2 job because I wanted to separate my personal income with the company revenue, which is what I've been trying to do. So last year I was driving all my revenue as an individual into the company, taking it all out to feed the family, which made our numbers look good, but it wasn't the true model. Does that make sense?
So you don't want it to be a pass-through company? Like, you don't wanna
not
live
for
off
me.
of the proceeds? Okay.
Nope. This is designed to be a publicly traded asset. It is not designed to be my personal piggy bank. So I've got to figure out how do I feed my family on one side and take care of them while also building this completely separate from me. Does that make sense? So that's why last year the numbers were a lot better because I was driving everything in. Now I'm own. Oh, sorry. So last year total revenue year to date was 40,000. This year it's 24,000. So that change was I finally got my personal income out of the company, and then my personal income blew up, and now I'm trying to figure that side of the equation out again, if that makes sense. So that is the statistics of the company. So there's two products. I think about it like a labor union. Okay? In a labor union, the company pays into the system and the individual pays into the system. Okay? So the individual pays $127 month one, and then it's a $27 subscription. So just like a Netflix subscription. You get a digital business card. Every year you get an annual Christmas ornament. So that's a picture frame. I don't believe any company can tell you the most important thing that happened in your life. Only you can. but they can give you a frame to hold it in. And then there's an owner's manual to how does this whole system work. So think about this like how I think about it is this replaces the tax code. If we threw away the entire tax code and started from scratch, what would the owner's manual look like to being an American citizen? How would I read that? Like, what would it be saying? Like, would it be saying, oh, you owe this if you do this? You owe this if you do this? I think it should operate more like a country club that says, hey, you pay this fee, this is what you get. Right?
Gotcha.
So then everybody gets a Made in America flag and a collectible silver coin to commemorate everything. And then every 30 days that they've made a payment, it makes people eligible for what I call the Future of Society investment opportunity. So these are things that happen throughout our lives that drive society forward. So getting married, having babies, getting a divorce, graduating college, graduating high school, becoming a U.S. citizen. All of these things help all of us as a society. So if these happen, you can invest an additional $100 and you get extremely discounted ownership of the asset we're all building together. Sorry. It gets confusing. So this is just how individuals, like I mentioned, the labor unions, so the $27 a month is the individual investment into it. Then the National Tax Strategy Program is what we're doing right now. It's just talking about this system. We're creating a community on X where we'll vote on, hey, Joe Schmo broke his ankle. Should we give him $10? Or whatever it happens to be, right? So it's just a way for us to communicate. And then there's 5 levels of investment into the system. So $150 per month gives every W-2 employee. So the goal is to take care of all the employees at once. Every W-2 employee gets 10 shares as a sign-on bonus, and then 2 shares per year multiplied by the number of years they've been employed. So we're creating a stream of cash flow into this asset, and based on the people who subscribe to the asset, they get ownership of it. And then that ownership they can sell back to the asset, or we go public on the stock exchange and they sell it to someone else who wants to store the value of their time in our asset. Because time is the one thing that always passes. Right? And so the investment levels are $150, $300, $750, $1,500, or $2,000 a month, depending on how much you invest, determines how much all your employees get out of this system. So the more companies that invest, the more revenue we're bringing in, the more equities we're buying for the future, and then we're sharing that pot with all the employees that help build the pot. So right now, it's divided into 3 different classes of stock, common shares. So Class A is 19% of the company. It is designed to be owned by essentially 1.5% by the chairman of the board, 1.5% by the chairman of the board's spouse, and then the other 16%, there's 19% of the whole company is Class A, is owned by the other 8 board of director teams. So the team is a couple, right?
Mhm.
Because I believe the family unit is the most important piece of success in life, right? Over the decades, yes, your company matters, but your family matters more, right? So then this is my board of directors. It's me, my wife, my father and mother. I've got a really good friend and his wife I've invited to the board. I want to invite the general manager and general manager's wife, service technician's wife, client 1 and client 1's wife, and then my financial advisor and his wife. And I have 2 seats open on the board.
Gotcha.
Right?
Mhm.
And so this is where I want, depending on how everything works out, I'd like to have you and Jordan be part of my board.
Sorry.
Does that make
Look
sense?
at him with his dumb hat.
I fucking love it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right?
Mhm.
So this table controls the asset. The next 51% of the asset is Class B shares.
Okay.
This is the ESOP portion, so employee stock ownership portion. You can only earn this through being involved in our system. You can only get it from me directly, issuing the shares to you, and you can only sell them back to me.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
So you're selling them into the cash flow we create as a team.
Okay.
And then Class C shares, this is 30% of the company. This is what I want to do an IPO with.
Okay.
And this 30% is what we take public. That creates liquidity today. This is creating the retirement plan. And then this team controls the asset. And so I look at it like driving a car. The less drivers you have, the faster you can go. Right? So in business, you want to be able to move quick, but you want to also impact a ton of lives. So you separate the control of the asset from the financial benefit of the asset through super voting rights. And so that's how this whole system is set up. And so right now there's no liquidity. I'm at negative like $9 in the account. Sad days. Someday I'll get there. And then the ESOP shares, when you sell them back over time. And the longer you finance them, so seller financing, right? In real estate, business, all that stuff, you don't need a bank because you are the bank. So you invest in to a company that's part of our system. You earn revenue out of the system. Then you sell it back over time to create an income stream out of that system. And that's how we create an annuity for all of the employees that help us be successful over time. So we don't have any new subscribers right now. I am the main investor driving all of this right now. And thank you for watching and letting me talk through that. So if people wanted to join, they would go to americasholdingcompany.com. The individuals pay $127 the first month, $27 a month after that. Companies pay between $150, $300, $750, $1,500, and $2,000. So, thank you. Appreciate y'all tuning in.